they do is they get involved at the arrest scenes or things like that. They video it and they put it on YouTube. Now, here's the problem with this, Lisa. This creates very dangerous public safety scenarios. I mean, imagine if you're a cop. You're engaged in a high-risk arrest. God forbid you're tussling with someone trying to get handcuffs on a dangerous subject, and nobody has any inclination to help, and everybody's around there sticking cameras in your face. And now, nobody should be arrested for videoing the cops. That's not what I'm suggesting. But sitting there and annoying them and getting involved in a lawful arrest and really creating what could be a dangerous situation for the cop. I totally get why they needed to do this. Again, I'm not suggesting video and I'm a civil rights and I'm a libertarian at heart. I'm simply suggesting if you're going to actively involve yourself and interfere in a lawful arrest, I think this is kind of a ground ball.
All right, Dan, we got to leave it right there. When you get
Yeah, but what about when it's an illegal arrest? What about when it's unlawful? You know, I moved from New York to Pennsylvania, and what a difference. Where I lived in a sleepy little upstate town in New York, you couldn't go 1 mile without a cop on your ass or bothering you. Whether it was a local cop, a state trooper, okay? Got so bad I had a cop one day about 9 years ago, pull me over in a pizza place parking lot because I didn't have a seatbelt on. Well, I jumped in his face and I said, point your finger at me again. I said, you want to leave a ticket, you leave it on my windshield. You bother me about not wearing a seatbelt, you're not my mommy. Okay? And I will hurt you. Well, guess what the little hero did? He left a ticket on my windshield and sped away like an angry little girl. And then I promptly walked across the street to the town hall and shoved said ticket up his boss's you-know-what. And took on the whole town board, and on my soul to God, as I walked in, the head of the police department, a guy who was illegally hired because he had been fixing odometer readings and falsifying VIN numbers on used cars that he sold on the side. And he was kicked off a police force, I think it was Marlboro or Lloyd, New York, and was told by the judge you could never be a cop again, and my stupid town hired him and made him the head of the police department. Imagine that. Well, I reminded him of that a little episode in his life, and you had to see him backpedal. And I'll tell you what the modality was. They took away my ticket. And they told every cop in that town, don't pull that guy over for anything. See, they know who they can F with. And in New York, where the biggest gang are police, shaking you down, stealing your money, going after you for seatbelts and cell phones to pad their bloated pensions. Everybody says it. Everybody knows it. But you know, I don't know how the squirrels survive in New York because there ain't a lot of nuts. Not too many men have any nuts, if you get my drift. See? And my problem is I look at a bully as a bully. I don't give a rat's ass if he's wearing a police uniform or the Luftwaffe uniform. You're going to have to put me away. All right? It's not about being a tough guy. Because I've gotten out of my car and helped cops that were getting the crap beat out of them by thugs one day in Poughkeepsie, for instance. Big fat white cop on the ground with a black guy who looked like he had a mother that had to be King Kong. All right? So it's not about being anti-cop. It's about anti-tyranny. And the state of New York is tyrannical. And they got Governor Goombatz up there that wants to kill every baby that he can murder in abortion and go after people for selling Lucy cigarettes, like when they killed that guy Garner, which pissed me off unbelievably. Yeah, choke a fat man to death because he's selling Lucy cigarettes. So, and it ain't about race either. It's about right or god darn wrong. And the punishment should fit the crime, and the crime should be sane. But everybody in New York has become a Jewish mother-in-law. You can't do this. You can't do that. Well, F you. Mind your own damn business. And I'm a libertarian, like this guy claims to be, but he's going to just sycophant for the cops. Okay? You want to have an abortion? Go ahead. Just don't hand me the bill. You want to have 10 babies? Go ahead. Don't hand me the bill. You do the blanking, you do the trucking. Don't hand it off to other people. That's what a libertarian's all about. And I'm out here in Pennsylvania now, and I don't see Massive amounts of crime. I see less crime. And there's no cops. I helped a woman the other day with a car. She went up an embankment. It got dark. She must have been texting. I'm betting my life. And she swore to me that a boulder jumped out in front of her SUV. When I got out and I looked at the ground, I could see that she obviously swerved up an embankment, captured a boulder about 3 feet to 5 feet up on the hill, and pulled it down under her car and broke the front axle. I never saw a front wheel snap off on her big Nissan SUV. And I asked her, I said, well, did you call the police? No, I called my husband. I said, why? Because the police are 45 minutes away. And I went, wow, that's pretty cool. And I stood out there for 50 minutes waving cars down so no one hit her in the rear end. And she just sat there on her phone, waiting placidly for her husband to show up, picking her sons up from hockey practice. So I tell you all that because it's a little bit of a diatribe, but man, I got to tell you, I listen to this kind of nonsense over governance. That's all you have in New York. And this guy, Bongino, who can't stand what the libtards are doing, correctly so, with this Adam Schiffless BS impeachment crap where there's no crime other than Joe Biden's and the Democrats and Hillary and Obama's crimes. You see, what I'm trying to point out is you don't pick and F and choose. Either you stand for freedom or you don't. And I'll always quote Ben Franklin, those who would surrender their freedom for security end up with neither. Okay? But this pansy-ass country, okay, that gave up its you-know-whats for security, and now you got government tyranny coming out your you-know-what. All you got to do is look what's going on with this deep state crap. And I'll tell you, in case you don't know, this proliferated exponentially after 9/11, where the CIA and the FBI, for failing us on every front, that 16 little punks with box cutter knives went after 4 planes and got all 4 and killed how many New Yorkers and Americans in Pennsylvania and everywhere else? Okay, in the Pentagon. They crashed a plane into the Pentagon. Say it out loud, people. They crashed a plane into the Pentagon. Not the Washington Monument, not the White House, but in the very heart of the military-industrial complex installation, the Pentagon. And nobody ever said, are you effing kidding me? Well, I'm saying it to this day. And for being such abject, utter, perfect failures, the CIA and the FBI are now making decisions on who we can have as a president. Because we caused this, calling them heroes. And thank you for your service. Really? How much money did you make, pal? I don't need to thank you for your service. Do your effing job. Okay? You don't want to do the job? Go home. You don't need the little people to be thanking you like you're some noble from medieval England. Anybody who takes that, by the way, thank you for your service. There's only one group of people that you thank for their service. Those are soldiers who fought in battles. Not a guy loading equipment in St. Louis, Missouri, or onto a beer truck in Fort Dum Dum. Okay? I met a guy who flew 25 missions over Germany. And I thanked this old Dutchman while he sucked on his Lucky Strikes. He was probably 90. He looked at me and said, hey, kid, you don't got to thank me. Uncle Sam paid me. That's a hero. That's a man. Not a little mamby-pamby that needs to be told, I'm a first responder. Really? What am I? I'm the guy who called you. Hey? This has become a joke of a joke. And when you venerate Pretorians, you get a Pretorian ruler class. And that's what we have. I work for the federal government. I'm special. No, you're not. You're special class. Like this broad in the post office the other day. They keep delivering the wrong mail to my mailbox. I said, what's your name? Michelle. Mickey. Right? F-U-C blank you. Who the hell in business in the private sector? I get a customer call me up on a complaint and I don't tell them my last name? Are you kidding me? But the government, oh no, we can't give out our last names because we're special. F that. So when you hear these people looking for this kind of platitude of gratitude, tell them to go F themselves. Do them a favor. Check your ego at the door. We got cops where I grew up with pensions over $250,000 a year. I don't think they need me to thank them. All right? Port Authority cops that all make over $250,000 a year. One Nassau County captain who retired, a chief of police. Old Westbury, probably 14 policemen. Retired on $713,000 a year. Did you hear what I just said? Cops in Clarkstown, New York, $300,000-$400,000 pensions. But they need to be thanked and told how special they are. And you're sweating your mortgage and ducking seatbelt and cell phone tickets. This is sick. Wake the F up.